Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. And we ordered up some beautiful weather here for the governor.
You did good, Chairman.
Thank you. I'm Bob Sabat, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors of North Franklin Township. The governor took a few moments to meet my fellow supervisor, Mike Quinn. County Commissioners Larry Maggi and Nick Sherman are here today, and I understand a representative from Representative Tim O'Neill's office is here as well. So we appreciate you all coming. North Franklin Township has really had a lot of growth in the last couple years. We built a new township building, which we broke ground on and had our dedication last year. And now this water company building, which was the old pump station, which the governor had a chance to look at an old picture from 1911. We're getting that refurbished. And so all this is going to become walking trails through here. We have pavilions and parks to build. And I keep saying all the time, I never understood why a township supervisor had to serve 6 years. Well, I'm now in term number 3, and we're still trying to navigate and get things done. Governor has promised us some fish for the lake, and that's great. And
You really put me on the record here.
So we want to thank, over $1 million has come in to North Franklin Township in many ways from state DCNR grants, and we really appreciate that. And we need more. And it's about local government being able to get things done. And also, I want to point out that the DEP has been helpful in trying to get this well plugged for us, and I understand in three more weeks it will be done. So with that, I'm going to cut this short, and I am not going to go any further. I'm going to introduce the man who is our governor, who's doing a great job in this state, and I'm very proud to introduce him, Governor Shapiro. But we're going to have two other people speak, Joe Bonfiglio, and also Brian Treese will speak, and then the governor. So thank you very
Thanks.
much. Okay.
Thanks, Chairman. Joe?
Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Bonfiglio, representing Environmental Defense Fund. I'm really honored today to join Governor Shapiro to celebrate a big milestone. I want to congratulate the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection for plugging their 300th well. It's a big number. And we have to sort of pull back, remembering that for generations, oil and gas production in Western PA directly contributed to the tremendous economic and industrial growth of this country, but it also left behind a legacy of hundreds of thousands of unplugged, orphaned, and abandoned wells throughout the state. Governor Shapiro has identified well management as key both for Pennsylvania's economy and its environment, and we could not be more supportive of that work. In fact, Environmental Defense Fund has partnered with Pennsylvania DEP, universities around the Commonwealth, and the incredible environmental advocacy organization, Moms Clean Air Force and the Red Shirts, to advance a project to pilot new technologies to find old wells not in current databases. So just last fall, we flew drones with sensors in Clarion and McKean counties and found more than 250 potential wells not on any databases. And just last week, DEP inspectors tested our work and confirmed that 4 of them were now on the list to be plugged. We're encouraged by these results, but we need to keep working further and harder to find ways to scale this effort. Now, Pennsylvania can continue to lead and achieve its climate goals by addressing the state's methane pollution from abandoned wells, while also ensuring that today's active wells don't become tomorrow's orphans. Policies like limiting carbon pollution from the state power sector, developing a durable plan to implement EPA standards on methane, and in getting hydrogen policy right are all ways that the state can make progress towards a cleaner future. Now, Governor Shapiro has demonstrated that a strong economy does not mean compromising clean air and clean water. Efforts to curb pollution from the oil and gas industry are creating jobs and economic opportunity. A recent report showed that the number of methane mitigation companies are creating jobs here, and that number of companies grew 22% in just 3 years. EDF applauds the Shapiro administration as it charts a course to grow a clean economy, cut pollution, and strengthen both families and communities right here in Pennsylvania. And with that, I'll turn it to Brian Treese.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Good afternoon. As mentioned, my name is Brian Treese, and I'm with Penn Mechanical Group. I'm the operations manager, and we are the contractor tasked with plugging this well, the Waterworks number 1. I'm honored to welcome Governor Shapiro, ladies and gentlemen of his administration, DEP representatives, the press, local government officials, and members of the community. It's an exciting day to stand here before you on the site of the 300th well being plugged under Governor Shapiro's administration. Penn Mechanical Group was blessed to be also involved in the 200th well less than a year ago. And with any luck, we will be standing in a similar situation for number 400.
Hurry up.
A little bit about Penn Mechanical Group. We are a 100% PA-based, family-owned business who has dedicated their efforts for the last 30 plus years to provide the best possible service to the gas and oil industry. We got into the plugging operations approximately 7 years ago and have plugged over combined 400 wells for DEP along with other responsible operators across the Commonwealth. All of our customers are taking the proper initiative to plug their own wells before they become abandoned or on an orphan list or become hazards to the environment. With the addition of our well plugging service side years ago, we were able to add numerous PA-based jobs to our already strong workforce. And since then, we have been able to increase that number by over threefold with the additional equipment and supportive services that go along with the plugging and abandonment of oil and gas wells. The addition of these jobs obviously has a trickle-down effect within the PA economy, from local home purchases, vehicle purchases, local restaurants, hotels, to everyday local living expenses. Excuse me. The aforementioned would not have been possible without the push from government officials such as Governor Shapiro to get non-producing wells plugged prior to them becoming an environmental concern. Pennsylvania has over 350,000 orphan wells, which have the potential to contaminate water supplies, degrade ecosystems, or emit methane and air pollutants. I bet everybody's thinking, wow, how do we handle that vast number of wells? Well, it's simple, one well at a time. And that's exactly what Governor Shapiro and the DEP are doing. I mean, they've went to 100, then they went to the 200th, we're at the 300th, and before you know it, we're going to hit another milestone at 400. And it's an honor to be doing this alongside them. These feats could not have been or have been achieved without a good working relationship, which I am pleased to say that Penn Mechanical Group holds with the Department of Environmental Protection. Now, all the wells that we encounter are unique in their own ways, whether they're in the middle of the woods, beside someone's home, alongside bodies of water, or simply in the middle of an open field. The common denominator to all these wells are they are somebody's property, and we need to treat them with respect. The landowners, the locals, and everybody, that's their home. We are just visitors there, and we want to make sure that we treat their property and their areas with respect. PMG strives on showing up and leaving the site better or as good as what we found it. The property members and the communities that we work in are their homes, and we're just visitors. We prioritize the mindset that if this were my property, how would I want it to be treated and how do I want it to be left? This can be as simple as when we leave, we'll supply a fresh load of stone in the driveway, we'll plant a certain grass seed that they prefer for their wildlife. But whatever we can do to make sure that they are happy when we leave is what we strive to do. We want all these experiences to be good for the landowners. Although we understand that it is an inconvenience at times, we still want them to say when we leave, hey, you know what? That Penn Mechanical Group, they did the best possible job they could do for us. The only way this is achieved is by employing considerate, hardworking men and women. The employees at Penn Mechanical Group are just that. We as a company could not achieve the success that we have had in this line of business without these individuals. Speaking for myself, the owners, and other management of Penn Mechanical, we are proud to have these gentlemen behind me, and along with the other men and women that we have working out in the field elsewhere on our team. With current employees like this, Penn Mechanical Group will continue to give nothing but first-class workmanship. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Governor Josh Shapiro.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Brian. And it feels like just yesterday, Brian and I were together in, I think it was Butler County, when we did our 200th well, and now we are here at number 300. This is an important milestone, and I want you to understand why I think these well plugging efforts are so critically important for our Commonwealth, for our economy, for putting people to work, for our public health, for our environment, for our farmers, and much, much more. Let me just say, I am really pleased to be back in Washington County. You all are really well led here, and I want to acknowledge and thank your county commissioners who are here, Commissioner Maggi, Commissioner Sherman, and Commissioner Janis. We've had the opportunity to work together on a number of things. They are always harping on economic development. I mean that in the most complimentary way, and we work closely with them. So we appreciate their important work here. And I want to say it's good for me to be here with our team from DEP, led by Acting Secretary Jess Shirley, who I was with just yesterday in York County, along with the wonderful team here that does great work out in the community, Kurt and Eric and everyone at DEP. We appreciate you very, very much, and I've got your backs. You know, I couldn't help when I was listening to Bob talk and having the opportunity to be with him and Mike, I'm going to embarrass you, his fellow supervisor, before. They commented to me on how they have kind of different political philosophies. They view life a little bit differently. But the thing that has unified them over nearly 2 decades of working together here in North Franklin Township has been focusing on common sense. And as I like to see every day, that GSD attitude, that attitude of just getting stuff done, whether it's paving a road or building a park or making sure the kids have safe streets to walk down. Those common sense things are things that bring us together, that bind us, that unite us. And I'm pleased to be here today to be with folks who share that attitude. It's how I'm trying to lead our Commonwealth. And it's why this effort that we have engaged in to plug these wells is so critically important. Let me explain. I actually wanted to be here today because I think this may be the easiest way for folks to understand the vision that I've had when it comes to plugging these wells. We talked before about how an orphaned or abandoned well leaks methane into the air. That methane is really bad to breathe in. It leads to adverse health conditions for our kids. It leads to warmer, wetter weather that creates more moldy crops and undermines the work that our farmers are doing. And as we see right here in Washington County, it makes it harder to get outside and enjoy the outdoors. But if you go and plug that well, if you stop that methane from leaking, better health outcomes, better for our farmers. You got people going to work to do this important work every day that puts food on their tables for them and their families. We get the opportunity to get out and enjoy the wonderful, beautiful outdoors, especially in this southwestern corner of Pennsylvania that's just so unbelievably beautiful. That lake right over there, the lake that people look at, admire, it's beautiful, but can't enjoy because of what's bubbling beneath the surface, literally bubbling beneath the surface with methane leaking. But when we cap that well, when we stop that methane from leaking, we can stock that with fish, and you got me on the record that we're going to do that, Bob. We can bring people back outside. We can enjoy the beauty of our communities. We can do right by our planet. We can do right by the people that are doing this work. And we can create another area of opportunity right here in Washington County. This is really critically important stuff. It's why I talked about this when I was running to be your governor. Folks are like, what is this guy talking about? But I was passionate about it. It's why when in my first few months as governor, we were able to put together a fund made up of both federal dollars and state dollars and a team to get out there and plug these wells. And I want you to know with our 300th well, we have now plugged, I've been governor 2 years, we have now plugged more wells in the last 2 years than the Commonwealth plugged in the last 11 years combined. And we're not even close to being done. I think the chart you're going to see on the number of wells we plug is going to look more like a hockey stick, really dramatically increasing as these months and years go on. And so I want you to know every time we plug a well, we're doing right by public health, right by public safety, right by our farmers, right by our workers, and right by our communities. And we're going to keep at it. This is common sense stuff. You may have read a few weeks ago when the new administration in Washington froze a bunch of federal money. I actually had to go to court to stop them. And I'm not saying this to be partisan. I want you to understand, though, what happened. When they froze that money, they actually froze millions of dollars that we were relying on to plug these wells. Now, I filed a lawsuit, but the most important thing I kept doing was talking to the Trump administration. And I actually pitched them directly. I said, you know, these are communities that had your back, Mr. President. These are communities that supported you. And unfortunately, this funding that you're cutting, this funding that you're freezing, is actually hurting those communities. Next day, they unfroze the money and we got back to work and made sure that this work continues. I share that with you because I want you to know this is an important federal-state partnership that we need to keep up and we need to make sure it continues. Here in Washington County and across the southwestern corner of our state, the northern tier where so many of these wells exist. I want you to know that this work is really important to me and really important to DEP. I also want you to know, and this is a commercial for those of you who are at home watching, we know that we've got a lot of wells out there, but we also know that we don't know where all of them are. A lot of the mapping that we have for these old wells is just that old, and some of those wells never made it onto the system. And so I want to say to everyone watching here, we need your help. If you stumble, hopefully not literally, but if you stumble across an orphaned or abandoned well, alert DEP. Don't assume that they know it's there, and that we'll get it on the list and make sure that it gets fixed up, that it gets plugged, these people do their jobs, and then they move on to the next one. So I want to encourage the public to work with us as we work hard for you to improve public health, public safety, put people to work, and do things that are just common sense, the North Franklin Township way. So I want to thank you for welcoming me back to Washington County to allow us to highlight what I think is one of the most important things our administration is doing, and I want to make sure that this work continues. And thanks to all of you and your dedication to our outdoors, to our infrastructure, to our public health and safety, I know we're going to continue to be successful in this effort. So thank you all very much. With that, we'll be happy to take a few questions from the media, and then I look forward to checking out the well behind me and getting this work done. Thank you.
Governor, beyond the environmental impact, can you just speak to the impact that everyday families face if they find an abandoned well on their property and then maybe they're forced out? We've covered a few stories where people have been displaced for a certain amount of time because they don't know the risk to their home.
Yeah.
What's the risk to them and what should they do?
Well, first off, it's critically important that you alert us if you see a well on your property or somewhere near your property. And I want to make sure that folks let us know, and you'll excuse me, I set up a special line where people can text me to let me know where, if they come across a well. It's 717-788-8990. Literally, text me your address, text me latitude, longitude, whatever. We will get out there and we will find it. We want to test and see if methane is leaking. If methane is leaking, it is a worrisome thing. I've got 4 kids. It's worrisome for young kids. It can easily impact them if they have asthma or other health conditions. It's not good for our farmers. It's just not good for our planet. And so we want to get that plugged as quickly as possible. And so I want to encourage any landowner to alert us right away. And I also want to say to landowners, if you've got an orphaned or abandoned well on your property, you're not in trouble. You didn't do anything wrong. We want to make sure we know it's there so we can get out and we can plug it and make it right for you, for your children, and for your community. Thank you. Anything else? No? Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.